Hello there, everybody. It is Kitsun-Eh here, back introducing our episode 2 of Gundam Guys and Guymelef Girls. Zavalon and myself decided that, yeah, we wanted to keep things going despite the current situation. So, for the time being, we are doing our podcast over Discord chat, which proved to be amazing. If you guys are not using Discord for voice chat, you really need to get on it. The, uh, the, s- the self-detection on microphones is amazing. They don't pay me. I'm just very impressed and happy. But yeah, this is our second episode, and we just kind of get right into it. We talk about raising kids as a nerd. Zavalon has a 5 year old, I believe he is now. And from there, we get into talking about Danmachi because Zavalon is starting to wrap up the second season, riding what I like to call the third wave of it. So we're getting pretty deep on that, and then kind of get into a more involved discussion about anime affecting the rest of Western media. It was a really fun discussion, and I was so glad to have jumped right back into doing these, and that we know it's kind of easy. We'll be doing a bunch more. So thank you to everybody who's been listening and continues to listen. Yeah, let's just jump right back into Gundam Guys and Guymelef Girls, episode 2. Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to Gundam Guys and Guymelef Girls. That awesome nerdy tongue twister of a title that we decided to come up with. Hope you enjoyed the music we've been using. That is one of my favorite openings from Bleach. That is oh God, I know it's Beat Crusaders, but now I'm blanking on the title. Uh, it's the fourth opening from Bleach. I'm blanking on it. Uh, but of course, I am Kitsun-Eh, and I am joined by my co-host Zavalon for this second episode. And for the few people who checked out the first one over on Podbean, thank you very much. I didn't post it anywhere else right away because we're waiting on logo design as of this moment. But I think I'll put
which are which I have to spoil are absolutely freaking adorable.
they're so cute, so cute. I so might as well get that out of the way right now. That is, they're being done through a freelancer site called Fiverr. I think a lot of people do know about this site. It's basically kind of this open market for people who do like freelance design work or video work. I've used them a couple of times. Which like has been good, but there's an underlying crappy feeling of like I have so many graphic designer friends, but also I have a bad history of hiring friends to do stuff. So it's really just I'm avoiding drama and,
Yeah, no,
and and
I don't
supporting
blame
somebody.
you. You
So
gotta find that sweet spot.
yeah, so we've been it's being done by a person. Their account name is Astarote, I believe, Astarotte, and they've been absolutely wonderful. They've been like so apologetic about delays, but like I am not even concerned because of the work that is being shown to me, and very excited to have that as our podcast logo.
Oh, so am I.
So
So
am
am
I.
I. I actually I don't do this often, but I had a mini squeal when you sent them to me.
I've had those maybe 5 times in my whole life. It's been like a couple of like choice anime moments. Usually, a real good Deus Ex can do it for me. Um, and the other one was in the Game of Thrones books. The show's been done for a year, and the book's been out for 20 years. So I'm not even gonna like feign to guard your spoiler ears.
You know
It's
what? Yeah, really. Like, if you need a spoiler alert at this point, just leave.
Yeah,
Just leave.
it was the moment in the books when you realize that Arya is about to go to Bravos. I had a squee on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
Oh man, I don't blame you.
that was 3 books like coming, and it finally happened, and that was a squee moment for me. But there, I think Gundam, like various Gundam series, wrote the book because there's always some amazing moment where the hero, who's presumed dead, not only returns but in a new Gundam, and I'm the brand of nerd who still gets excited about that.
Oh man, it's one of those things. Like like, well, especially for the time frame that I was watching it. It was the closest thing I could correlate to, you know how adults would get a new car or something like that, and they'd be like, "Oh, check out my stuff." I'd see these characters and they get a new Gundam, and I'd be like, "You damn right, he's got a new mobile suit."
I think the top of the list for Gundam is it's in Gundam Seed when you see the Freedom Gundam for the first time. It's not only the fact that like, oh, Kira is about to get into the fight after being like, he was only like a broken man for about 3 episodes, so they kept that like nice and short. But like, not only is going to get back in the fight, he's going to get back in the fight in the sweetest looking Gundam I have ever seen, and it's also the scene when you realize that Lacus Klein is a badass.
That's true, actually. That is very true.
Like,
actually, you know what?
Go for it.
I started watching and then kind of went back on it because I wanted to like go back and just kind of get back to my Gundam roots and whatnot. But I started watching Unicorn on Netflix.
Okay.
And that Gundam, that all white, like it was almost like a knockoff of the RX-78.
Yes,
not a knockoff, but like the reimagining of it, where it has the unicorn horn and then splits into like the V.
This trademark V. Yep.
yeah, like the trademark V. Like, oh man, I don't know what it was about that, but it just kind of segued me back into, no, you know what? I can't do this to this one. This seems decent enough. I should go back and reinitialize with all my old Mobile Suit Fray favorites.
Yeah, so there's actually a bit of Gundam news. If you watch your your Crunchyrolls and your anime news networks, the big promo right now is for the next Gundam movie, which is called Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway.
I did hear about it.
Yes, and if you're kind of a Universal Century junkie like I am, the original Gundam timeline, you know who Hathaway is because he's a featured, almost like main character in Char's Counterattack, which was it was a feature-length movie that covers a very significant event, and Gundam Unicorn is like tailing off of bits of what happened in Char's Counterattack, although not addressing it outright, I find, just from what I watched. But Char's Counterattack was the first anime DVD I ever bought. I bought it at my first Anime North. It was the one thing I bought when I was there, and I watched the ever-living crap out of it. I so much. And the great thing that was about Char's Counterattack was this was the somehow a war between two men was also a war between nations. This was because we were so used to like, oh, Earth fights Xeon. Char's Counterattack like had the pretense of it. No, this was Amuro and Char gonna settle it once and for all.
let's let the fate of our nations rest on our battle.
Yeah, pretty much. It definitely I think that the end of Gundam Wing, when they do the fight between Zex and Hero, it is very much a tribute to that last fight in Char's Counterattack.
For sure.
Including the fact that it's like happening as they're falling backwards into the atmosphere. There's tons of parallels. But Gundam Hathaway is basically
true, actually. Now I'm picturing exactly that. Yeah, no, for sure.
Right. And so Gundam Hathaway is going to be another feature-length movie that takes place about, I think they're going for 20 or 30 years after Char's Counterattack. So Hathaway was like a child, like no more than 12, 13 in Char's Counterattack, I think. And this is the adult him. And they're poising it as like, he is the one who inherited both Amuro and Char's wills.
Ooh.
And where does those wills fit into that world going forward? I'm very excited to see it.
That's exciting, man. If they I doubt. No, actually, you know what? I can't even say I doubt they will. They've brought so many MHA movies to the theaters now. Once all this COVID stuff passes, if this goes to the theaters, you and I are going to see that in theaters.
Oh, totally. I like totally felt like I missed the ball on the Two Heroes thing, and a great story there. When that came out, it ranked number 5 in box office, which was like crazy, and it was hilarious because I was listening to my local radio station, or not local. It's in Toronto. I'm in Niagara. It was Boom 97, which is an 80s station based out of Toronto.
I love Boom.
Great station, right? 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah. I'll pay out.
Our consult fee is in the mail. Boom. The morning announcer, who's a great guy, had to he usually lists like the top box office of whatever the weekend was on Mondays, and he said the words "My Hero Academia 2 Heroes." I'm like, oh, did I just hear like a Toronto radio guy say the name of an anime movie? It happened.
It did.
It was really great to hear, actually, because really kind of the last time an anime movie was like putting up box office draw was like Pokemon the first movie, and they were winning the box office then.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. It's actually funny. I just downloaded. Actually, funny enough, we just watched Detective Pikachu. Lincoln hadn't seen it in a while, so we watched that tonight or earlier tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. I told him like. I mean, again, if you haven't seen Detective Pikachu at this point, you're not really like. I'm not spoiling too much for you in the sense of Mewtwo is one of the main pro-antagonists, and Lincoln is so fixated on Mewtwo. I explained to him, I was like, oh, buddy, well, when Dad was younger, they had this movie only, the show you watch, but it was in the theaters, and his jaw just dropped. And he goes, Dad. On the big screen? I told him, yeah, man. And he's like, they don't play any of those movies in the big screen. And I thought back to myself and I was like, yeah, you know what, buddy, that actually is very true. I don't think I've seen an anime movie in theaters since probably the first Pokemon movie.
Yeah, I definitely remember that they were really trying to keep the Pokemon train going. I believe I remember Pokemon Forever definitely got a theatrical release, and it was more. I heard in Japan when they did the movie for Black and White, they actually filmed two versions of the movie. Where where one Ash teams up with the white one, which I believe is Reshiram, and then Zekrom is the villain, and then there was other theaters running ones where it was flipped. And it was basically this big marketing ploy of pick your team.
Oh my god, those guys are brutal. Like again, always, well, for me anyway, there's never any hate, but like, guys, come on. Like, it's Pokemon. Like, you really don't have to put up a cash grab. Like, people will go see it. Probably twice.
It was. I think that was the ploy. Like, we want to get 2 tickets out of this minimum. And
oh, that's crazy.
That was a thing. I kind of read about it. I didn't see promo for this, but I read it and believed it. It seemed right.
100%. I would believe that.
Yeah,
I would believe it if I saw it on like BuzzFeed.
Yeah.
I see something like that on BuzzFeed, and I'd still believe.
Right under what brand of avocado are you?
Yeah. Man, they're getting more and more wild with those ones. I saw one, and it was like obviously Facebook or whoever was listening to my more previous conversation or more recent conversations, and I had been talking about anime or whatever. So it was the most ludicrously, so distantly correlated, like BuzzFeed. It was like, find out what, it was exactly that. It was like, find out what avocado, Bakugo would have been, which would have been who you are. It was so ridiculous to see you be solicited. And it's crazy.
And again, I'm gonna jump to the first topic there because you kind of hit on it there. But I'm gonna say this again: Bakugo on the drums, best thing the show has ever done.
I've seen about 100 memes about it so far, and I'm not mad. Not even a little.
No, that is sheer brilliance. I don't know if it was. I actually haven't caught up on the episode itself, but I definitely saw I think it either was an excerpt from the show or it was just like a well-cut promotional thing of the song they sing, and it made me tear up. It was beautiful.
You know what? I think it was like a trailer or something for the episode because I think I saw a little bit of it. It was on Facebook or whatever. So as soon as you get scrolling on that,
it's
once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, the song is called Hero 2, and it was beautiful. It really was.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna have to look it up.
I'm probably gonna get caught up tonight when we're done.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do want to kind of jump into that as one of my few like notes I've made for this. We just knew we had to record another podcast and like to make sure that we
Yeah.
could do this. We're doing this over conference call, everybody. This is the responsible
Yeah.
social distancing version
Yeah.
of Gundam Guys and
Stay
Guymelef
with your
Girls.
social distancing. Keep with your hand washing.
Yes.
Don't drink the sanitizer. It doesn't
No.
work.
No. It's not even a good drunk. Like it's a
Yeah.
dirty drunk. Ironically, it's a dirty drunk. The sanitizer will actually give you the dirtiest drunk, kids, so don't do it. But yes, so it came to my head because you posted this picture of you, Lynn, with your little guy, and you were like showing him some stuff. And I tend to hijack these things because of how much I talk. I apologize to anybody who has to deal with that with me. I don't do it on purpose. I do want to have conversations. But I grew up as a nerd, and the only way to insert myself into conversation was to prove how much I knew. But this is one for Zavalon. So I saw that picture of you and your little guy just sitting having a good time. I wanted to ask, have you been introducing him to your anime, and like where have you started him, and like what's his reaction to it, and where is he going with it?
You know what? I have. I've introduced him to some things. It's one of those tough points because, as obviously you know, and most of the listeners know, Japanese culture is different in certain things that they will put in media that aren't as, I don't want to say aren't as accepted, but are just viewed so much more differently. So, for example, in a lot of anime, they'll use the term bastard very liberally.
Mm-hmm.
And or you know, like just certain terms, certain thing that, you know, a 5-year-old in West civilization grasps onto, and they're not really the greatest things you want them saying at school or those types of scenarios, you know? Like, I really don't want my kid going to school and calling somebody else a bad. So, I've really had to kind of pick and choose as far as episodes and types of things, but I've definitely introduced him to a bunch of stuff. I introduced him to Dragon Ball. He loved that. I mean, he's a rowdy kid, so anything fighting, it's he's just gung. It's just he's good to go. So again, it's one of those things where it's he he loves the fighting, but then he also picks up on a lot of the more minute aspects that I wouldn't expect a 5-year-old to pick up on. Um, uh, so as far as shows, like I'll digress and just kind of give a baseline of what he's been getting into. He's definitely he loves MHA.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one of those shows that I find all around is just a great intro for people, as well as like the characters are just so well written, and like we were saying on the episode, like they just really are. I'm glad that they're starting to get away from this, you know, like deck down your throat type deal. Like the side characters are just as innovative and well written, and Lincoln has really started to pick up on that. Like he likes a lot of the like who did he tell me was cool but the weirdest power? It was what's his name? The tape elbows. Sarah?
Yeah, Sarah.
Sarah? Yeah, tape elbows. He was like, Dad, you could swing like Spider-Man. That's so cool.
Yeah.
But his elbows look weird, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd want that. It's just funny the things that he comes up with. But like as far as shows, like MHA, Dragon Ball, it's funny because I found copies of the original Dragon Ball where you have Goku's little member around. He goes, "That's his penis." Well, yeah, man. It's, you know, you've got one. He's a boy. Like it's just what happened. He's like, yeah, but why is he naked? Like, it's just the things that he fixates on in these episodes. It's so strange. But he is. He loves them. Like he really does. He loves he just loves like he doesn't understand it yet, but he loves the culture behind them, like that, like the whole family aspect. And I mean, like, the kid loves food more than anybody I know, so it's, a good 60% of animes are revolved around food. So
It's like, don't show him like a Ghibli movie with that picture perfect food in it.
oh man, it's I well that's the problem too, is I started showing him all these Ghibli movies, and it's like Ponyo. He's asked me so many times for that beef broth stew, like the ham stew that they make after they bring Ponyo into the house, and it's
Yeah.
like, buddy, I don't have ramen, I don't have half of this. We could, but no, he's loving it. Like, and frankly, it's one of those things. This, unfortunate, Anime North was canceled this year because of all this craziness going on. This would have been his third year going to Anime North, and
Wow.
it's funny because he like, we took him as a baby, and obviously, like, when they're a blob, they don't really get it. Like, they see and they're like, oh my god, these costumes. Obviously, sans the talking bit, but it's like, I could see the marvel in his eyes when we go, and it's like, oh. And last year he was the first time he really got to kind of interact with a lot of the cosplayers, and like, just the little, like, not the booths, but like the rooms they had set up where they would just play like episodes of MHA or what have you. And he's so enthralled, like, he loves it. Like,
Mhm.
I started reading him Fairy Tale, and he really does love a lot of aspects of anime and
Yeah.
manga, and Anime North is like, that's his jam. He loves going, so he was pretty broken up that it was canceled this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see it's interesting to see like it's this wasn't so much a push as a he like tagged along.
Yeah, well, and that really was it. It's nice to have such a strong like and connection from my life that I didn't like. I don't know. It's one of those things. Like, I'm not ever one of that type of parent where it's like, no, you're gonna like baseball because I played baseball and all that. And it's like, as long as you're healthy and happy, you do you, man. As long as that's not like, making people into lamps and stuff. But um, but like, it was very cool for him to just innately, like, oh, this is awesome, Dad. Yeah, I'm into this.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely I believe 5 is the age where it's gonna get in your head,
Yeah.
and by I'd say by 17, you know if it's gonna be with you for life.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It was one of those things. It's funny you mentioned that, because again, like, just reiterating the last episode, it was like, that's when I knew it was going to be with me for life, and then I started making all the wrong decisions away from those good lifetime decisions that I should have stayed with.
Yeah, but
Oh.
no, I don't have kids of my own, but I am uncle to 2 young boys, and
Yeah.
the oldest one um is a running joke. He's basically me when I was his age, with a few exceptions. But it is hilarious to watch. I use it's a joke I stole from the Big Bang Theory, where I said it's like looking in an obnoxious little mirror. And his take on it, he doesn't well, I think part of it is I don't watch a lot of dubs. So he'll
Oh,
come into
okay.
my room, he'll see anime, and it's in Japanese, and he's not ready to sit and attempt to read subtitles.
Yeah.
Um, he's a bit of a having a he's getting his reading down, but he sees it as a chore, not something to
Yeah.
enjoy.
Not. Yeah.
I'm hoping, like, as his uncle, that will be the thing I fix. But what is interesting with him is he's not sitting down to consume anime, except for Pokemon, of course. Pokemon fiend. So, but what I do think is interesting, he's had YouTube since he was born, and
Yeah.
his favorite thing to watch on YouTube is game streamers, and they're usually playing like Roblox or whatever, like a lot of like free online games. But the funny thing here is, I don't know if he has ever watched an episode of Dragon Ball Z, but he knows what the Kamehameha is. So
Well, I was gonna make that funny reference. That was the when you were talking about Gundam and the 3 episodes that they used. You know, it is that on running joke with just most anime community. It's like, oh, so you didn't Spirit Ball episode the whole thing. It's like we don't need a Spirit Ball to take up 15 episodes of filler.
well, hey, if anybody craps on the father son Kamehameha, you and I are gonna throw down.
Yeah, no,
That was
seriously,
beautiful.
that was a majestic moment
Like,
between father and son defeating evil.
but like, let's talk about like how much like okay, Gohan was always like sometimes a Deus Ex, otherwise he was just along for the ride, and here he is after having the amazing transformation. Like, you know, they said like when Gohan snaps, it's gonna be big, and it was
Oh
huge.
yeah.
But like at that point,
one armed.
he did it one-armed. That was what I was getting to. Remember, he has a broken arm when he does that. I'm like, talk about like the stuff boys get excited about. That's it.
Yeah, it really is though. It's like, you know what? I've been a nerd my whole life. I want to get into a fight, have the guy break my arm just so that I can come back and beat him with one arm because Gohan really is the most badass dude.
With that,
he has shown me
that is a term I have lovingly coined Van Damme syndrome. If you've ever,
that's a great coined term.
if you have ever like, if you were like watched a ton of '80s movies like I did, particularly action movies, and you know Jean-Claude Van Damme, you know that in 90% of his movies, in the final fight, he gets beaten to within an inch of his life, is like on the ground, and then has a memory or a flash of inspiration. He like looks, he like happens to see the person he's trying to protect, and that's when he stands up and kicks ass. And I'm like saying like there are so many characters, particularly Shonen Jump characters, who have this real bad. The king of this is Ichigo from Bleach. He is the king of Van Damme syndrome.
Yeah, you're not wrong though. And it's, you know, it's funny too because thinking of how he was in it, it almost is like that they have modeled all of these Shonen Jump type characters after him because like you think about it and like even in these like newer, I mean I guess Fairy Tail's not really newer but like Black Clover and like those types of like Demon Slayer, those types of things, they really have modeled those moments after Ichigo, like because of like just his the Van Damme syndrome being so strong in him.
Yeah, I think what they took from Ichigo was I believe the stature, like they haven't done like his stature, but I'm gonna say like the wielding a big sword, like your main character with a big sword. That seems to be real hot right now, and that feels very Ichigo. But I will say Ichigo is actually a big exception to a lot of Shonen Jump rules because you know he doesn't have that. He doesn't eat like a horse. That's not one of his things.
Yeah, that's actually exactly where I was just gonna go with that. I was like, yeah, you know what? Oh, he doesn't. If he's not fighting, he doesn't have a bowl in his mouth or some random huge piece of food hanging out of his mouth.
Yeah, like he's also like not functionally an idiot. He's actually quite smart.
Mm-hmm.
And
that is very true.
But I will say, here's the thing: I don't want to say outright that he does have the thing of being oblivious to the affections of women. I think he's processes it differently. Is what they went for with him.
Just more stoic about it.
I think he develops paternal instincts with female characters. He always wants to protect them.
Yeah, no, I can see that in him. I mean, it's been a while since I've watched Bleach, but much of my recollections, it was much more a paternal type.
Yes,
feel.
and here's the thing though. I'm gonna kind of make this a bit of a segue. It might be the time to catch up. Because it was announced a couple days ago that the final arc is going to be animated.
Oh,
we are getting the 1,000-Year Blood War.
Okay, well, yeah, no, this is, well, you know what? This is a perfect time. So I will finish up Danmachi tonight.
Yes.
And I will jump right into Bleach then.
Yeah, okay. And since you brought that up, that's a great segue to the other topic I had down. We're going to do a Danmachi deep dive because I feel like since it's made its way to Netflix, it's kind of the third wave of people finding it, is what I've been calling it. And Zavalon here was person riding the third wave, I think slightly at my suggestion.
I'm on the peak of that third wave, and it was. You know what? I could have made that second wave if I hadn't listened to you originally, because I remember you telling me long ago. You were saying, "Oh, there's this new anime coming, or that just came out, and it's called." And I remember you saying it had this long, ridiculous title. And that was all I remember. I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna watch that right now. Like I have too many shows on the go as is right now. Like it's not happening, man. And then surely enough, like 2 years later, a year later or so,
Yep.
suddenly I'm like, oh well, no, and now I'm on the bandwagon.
Yeah. And yes, it's been a fun ride. I enjoyed the second season thoroughly. It was I think I would have liked slightly more development amongst our secondary characters, and instead they decided to introduce a lot of new people and flesh them out.
Yeah, that's fair. I do have to say, just as a somewhat sidebar, a diagonal bar, if you will.
I like it.
That the whole main characters and the big swords.
Mm-hmm.
Welf not really being a main character, but fuck, I love his giant sword.
That thing,
like,
you cannot tell me that is not Zangetsu Light. It's just missing, like, all they did was put a point on the other side. That is totally Zangetsu.
Well, that really is exactly it. That's so well put.
But yes,
but
so
I digress, yeah.
So here, so I'll kind of like tell how like I came into the show, and then I'll let you do your side of it. So I think it was kind of that one was kind of a Crunchyroll push actually. Like it was a show that they had gotten, and they were definitely like plugging it. And I don't think I like actively watched any trailers, but it was in my head because of that long ass title. It said full title is it wrong to try and pick up girls in a dungeon? And the reason that resonated with me is because years before, I had watched another fantasy show called I Couldn't Become a Hero, so I reluctantly decided to get a job.
Okay, hang on, I'm gonna write that one down too.
And for anybody who has not seen Danmachi, you're gonna go back and watch that show and realize how much Danmachi pulled from this show, because
okay.
it's that one is predicated on the idea of there was, you know, adventurer was a job, and everybody tried to, you know, there was a other world that you could invade that kind of had, you know, game mechanics, but it was the reality of that world. But the whole premise of that show is when our main character is kind of just starting to get his boots under him as an adventurer, the final boss is beaten. And now there's no reason for anybody to be an adventurer. So he basically goes and gets a job at basically the only way I can describe it is it's a magical Best Buy.
Oh.
It's a electronics store, like appliances, electronics, but everything kind of has like a magic twist to it. And
okay.
So he's kind of like the assistant manager, I guess. Like he's the guy who knows how to do everything. And the new hire is the Demon Lord's daughter. So it's all about like he has to deal with the fact that he's not, you know, he couldn't be an adventurer, and she has to deal with the fact that like, well, how do I just be normal now that I'm, you know, not in this demon court or whatever? And then they just like it's just 12 episodes of kind of having fun with that. But you will definitely watch that show and see kind of the elements they pulled for Danmachi, basically making it like it is a fantasy world that kind of has all the mechanics of a video game, which is what I appreciate more about Danmachi, because the whole, I'm gonna say it outright and come at me people if it's this much of an issue, but the slew and litany of dot hack sign ripoffs of being trapped in a video game is tired. Where I think Danmachi did it a lot better by saying, no, this is the world they live in. It just happens to function a lot like we understand a video game to function. I think that was a lot better of a choice to make. and also the fact that Danmachi is predicated around the idea of the gods had come to Earth and sealed away their powers, except the ability to basically turn people into video game characters. They give their blessing, which gives them the ability to grow and gain skills. But that was where, when I finally, gave Danmachi a try, I was in there because I have often, as a semi-frustrated writer, loved the idea of mixing pantheons like they do in Danmachi. I love the fact that the Greeks mix with the Norse, mix with the Hindi, and I think it's real fun.
Well, and you know what? Speaking to that point, it's one of those things. I wouldn't say I'm a proud or not proud. To me, it's just a point of life. Like being an atheist, it's one of those things where having a more objective view of, and nothing against any listeners that are religious or spiritual or anything like that, but just having that type of objective view of all gods in just objectivity in that way, it gives you much more scope and makes something like this so much more enjoyable because of exactly to your point. It's you can mix these pantheons, and where in a lot of religions and and that type of idea, yes, these characters kind of mirror one another, but it's really cool to see these types of interactions come to fruition on a screen, and just see these characters written in a specific way, and see them kind of interact, for example in Danmachi, like watching Hermes pretty much interact with anybody.
He's glorious.
Well, I mean, I just got to the point, I think an episode or two ago, where Belle spent the night in the red light district.
Yes.
And he sees Hermes in this, gives him the aphrodisiac and whatnot. He runs after. He's like, I don't need this. I don't need this. Yeah, you know what? Hermes would be the guy that's just handing out aphrodisiac. Oh, I got a package, but you know what? We're buddies here.
Right? If you ever like me, I loved reading Aesop's fables and various cultures and their religious backgrounds and their stories and whatnot. I always loved the idea of hey, what would happen if these guys interacted with each other? And Danmachi addresses that. So it's kind of a thing that had been rattling in my head since childhood that was brought to life. So obviously I felt a connection to it. But yeah, I find it really, really great. And one of the big sources of conflict that came in this season, we'll put up a slight spoiler wall here if you haven't seen it yet. But the idea of kind of every culture and their pantheons of gods, there is often a goddess of beauty, and that was a source of conflict in this second season. Ishtar was in conflict with Freya over who was more beautiful and who was more loved. And that was a source. They used that as a source of tension and conflict. And I'm like, when you can accept these things as being humanized, that might be one of the petty things that they fight over.
Well, and that really is that's what gives it so much depth and so much just so much vigor, is listening, because I mean, when you think about it, it's think of Freya. She was a Norse goddess. Norse are just known for their battle ready women, but then you look at Ishtar and I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure within her description she is the goddess of love and war. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things, thinking of how, the even just the banter back and forth between people like that. It really is just such a great dynamic to put to a show that can be viewed, or could be viewed, as kind of more froofy in that way, just given especially in season 2, how you warned me, we'll just call it next level fans.
Absolutely. It is an incredibly fan servicey show. It totally is. I believe that Hestia is a workaround for animators who are catching themselves being a little too pedophilic a little too often. So they basically enhanced her chest to the point where we don't feel as awkward sexualizing her. Um, and that's what it is. And you know what? I still love the character.
Oh, you know what? She's great. Like her jealousy kind of bugged me a little bit in the beginning, but then like it's grown to more of like that cute. Like it was still cute in the beginning, but it was just like I don't know. And maybe you know what? Maybe exactly to your point, it was weird for me, like the idea of like okay, yeah, she's got a huge rack and whatnot, but like she looks like she's 10
Yeah.
almost. You
Yes.
know, like maybe it's just like the literal petite size of her, but it was I don't know, the jealousy kind of weirded me out, but like you know as the story progresses and whatnot, it gets so much more cute and still you still have the banter between say her and Lily that are you know like I'm your goddess, I'm gonna tell you I'm condemning you to the other side of the house. You can't be beside Belle. Like it's the banter like that. It really is just great.
Yes. And but I will say you have the last 2 episodes to go, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, and in these 2 episodes, you are going to experience one of the most profound character developments of this show that
Ooh.
will be setting. I hope that it sets the tone for the next season and they actually pursue it in a. I'm going to call it a more human way instead of an anime way that leaves relationships open ended for shipping, which is a personal
Okay.
pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
It is reminding me that I have a couple videos I need to make. But yeah, unrequited love is one of my anime pet peeves, and it's done often to let the fans keep shipping people because
Yeah.
that's grassroots marketing, right? It's like they go on their blogs and they write fan fiction, and it's that's
Yeah.
anime's grassroots. But I'm hoping with this show they've like set up some actual steps for maybe relationships to develop in a meaningful way, and I'm hoping they actually like pursue that in like what they've set up in a meaningful way, in a
Okay.
human way.
Yeah.
So if they can do
As
that,
opposed to that, as opposed to being too much of that grassroots, like, oh, what do you think?
I am hoping if they actually go that route, I will gain a whole new level of respect for this show.
Hmm.
I don't call this show quintessential viewing. I'm just an anime fan, and as far as anime goes, it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell anybody they need to watch it. I'm going to tell them if you like something like this, you might like this show. That's where
Yeah. No,
Danmachi
for sure.
falls. It is not quintessential
Yeah.
viewing.
It's not a ghost in the shell. Like it's not like
No, and like as much
well, like
as
you said, like a dot hack. Like it's not one of those.
no, um, I say like my quintessential list is incredibly short actually. As much as I love Gundam, I don't call it quintessential viewing. I say if you like giant robots, Gundam's the way to go. But I say
Yeah.
you you're going to get introduced however you are, usually through Pokemon or Sailor Moon. I find those are the two kind of throughways.
Yeah.
And then I say, people getting into anime, but they know there's some weird stuff behind it. I hand them Neon Genesis Evangelion and say, you
Yeah.
get through this, you don't get too weirded out, and actually enjoy it. The genre is for you.
Yeah.
Because
It's,
I said Evangelion doesn't get as weird as Akira. Akira gets weirder,
yeah. Yeah. I guess that's true. Yeah.
but Evangelion is just weird enough,
Yeah.
especially in those
No, that's
last,
true.
especially in those last 2 episodes and the movies. So I like to say, yeah,
Yeah.
that is quintessential viewing. I say like the Ghost in the Shell movie, absolutely. I am not a giant
Oh
fan.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, sorry. I should specify that movie.
The original
I would
movie,
always
yes.
mean the movie.
Yes,
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
original
No, for
movie,
sure.
Ghost in the Shell,
Yeah.
which I believe lays the groundwork for the entire genre of Trapped in a Game because Ghost in the Shell introduced the concept of digital singularity
Yeah.
to kind of
Yeah.
popular culture.
Well, that was one of those things. I didn't really want to get too deep into that idea, and this again we can cover in a whole another episode. But it is like to me that really was one of those. it's one of those things that really hooked me into anime, just like as a culture, was the idea that for my whole like childhood, it was always, like, oh, you like those comics, you like those cartoons, blah blah blah, and nobody could take any of that too seriously, to the point where like they were touching on very serious like real world implications
Mhm.
that they didn't know at that point would, but now, like, look at Neuralink, like look at what Musk is doing with Neuralink. Like, it's one of those things where
Oh my
all
God, we're in
these
Ghost in the Shell.
yeah, well, exactly. It's just like it's just one of those things, like, where they were cartoons, they were comics, like nobody would take it seriously. But these pieces of like film and artwork and TV and anime, like they really did touch on a lot deeper subjects than people would give them credit for.
Mhm.
And exactly to your point, like Ghost in the Shell really was one of those ones, not just for the singularity aspect, but for me, it was one of those things that was, and I know that this isn't the best term for it. I know that it's kind of the shtick of the movie, but it's like, how much of your body needs to be human for you to be human,
Mhm. Absolutely.
right?
It's
Like,
it's a great it's a great thing to ponder.
it's
Um,
it's
but
just one of those things that I always found so interesting, for it to have such a like a deep grasp like that.
right. And for me personally, I love to bring up Ghost in the Shell because Ghost in the Shell and Kira kind of go together on this point. But Ghost in the Shell not only kind of introduced these certain thoughts into the popular lexicon, but also how Ghost in the Shell was cinematographically laid out. It's a beautifully shot movie. Like, yes, it's animated, but in terms of putting the shots together, so many of like the shots they came up with were later recreated by Hollywood movies. And there's also one in Akira. There's the iconic scene of him skidding the bike to a stop. There are
Mm-hmm.
no less than 20 movies who have ripped that shot off verbatim.
Wow.
And yes, it's so. And on top of that, like if you want like all the proof in the world that you need to watch Ghost in the Shell as a potential anime fan or even as a cinema fan, The Matrix would not have happened without Ghost in the Shell.
I was actually literally just going to bring up that point. It
The
was
the
it's one of those things.
Wachowskis will tell you this, that
Yeah. Well,
so
I was going
much.
to say, I literally watched and read an interview where they said, like, Japan is really where a lot of these ideas come from. Like, for example, and then they name dropped Ghost in the Shell and Akira.
Mhm.
Like, it really is cinematography like that they can draw people doing these outrageously extreme things, and then it's minds like the Wachowskis that bring it to a live action platform.
Yeah. So if you want to go with like the timeline there, no Ghost in the Shell, no Matrix, no complete reimagining of what an action movie should be.
Damn.
Right?
You're welcome, action movie fans.
Like how many people have done a version of that frickin' bullet time shot? The spinning
Oh
slow
man.
motion shot. How many times has that been
Well,
ripped off since
how many Fast and
1999?
Furious movies are there?
Yeah, exactly. 10 now, right?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. You know what? I will say I can't be that much of a hypocrite. I love The Rock. I don't know what it is. I haven't seen any of the Fast and Furious with him in it, but it's just like,
So
that guy's too charismatic for life.
he's a little super. He might be an android. He's a little too perfect.
Yeah, well, that's what I've started to question. It's like, you know what? I like everything you say. Like, you could tell me I'm an asshole, and I'd probably agree with you. So what's going on here?
Yeah, yeah, definitely with the Fast and the Furious, I think is a great franchise to examine. You can apply it to a lot of things, talking about how when something is successful, you're going to keep it going a little too long. And
Yeah.
think about where Fast and the Furious started. Um, that was Justin Lin being fascinated with street racing culture. That's what the first movie was about.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
it made so much damn money, there was no way there wasn't going to be a sequel. And the sequel delivered enough that they just kept going and going and going. And by
Yeah.
that fifth
Well,
movie,
and
they were the Avengers.
yeah, well, exactly, and that's exactly it. It's like suddenly they have their own and obviously, like I said, I haven't seen the movies, but like they have their own vision in the government, and it's like, like we're the Furious Five, or I just took that from Kung Fu Panda. I'm not gonna lie to you. We watched that recently. We watched that recently. But yeah,
But
it's wild what the credit that is not given to anime and just like that entire culture, like just even just the concepts of some of the stuff that these movies touch on. Like I remember, what was it? Who was in that movie? He's like a little bit lesser known, but like chicks love him. He
and
was in that Notebook movie.
that was Gosling, wasn't it?
Gosling, yes. Okay, so he was in another movie called Blue something.
Blue
Blue
Valentine?
Flower. Blue Valentine.
Yes.
And that got insane reviews. Like people are like, this is the cult movie of the next century, blah blah blah, this and that. And I remember specifically reading a review, or an interview with the director saying that she pretty much got like the entire concept of that movie from a I want to say 30s or 40s Japanese drama movie.
Okay.
So it's just one of those things where it's it's funny how much we pull from there, and to drama animated movie.
Well, like,
Animated drama movie is what I meant.
and again, if you're ready for like another deep cut, like Akira,
Pull
you know,
from something animated and then turn it into the
yeah, like another great like deep cut of like how much has like Japanese stuff actually influenced Western stuff is Akira Sawa, who's a legendary Japanese filmmaker. Um,
Mhm.
he had a project. I'm not sure if he was. I think he like wrote and directed, but he wrote a thing called The Hidden Fortress, and George Lucas will tell you that he based the film structure of Star Wars on it.
I have heard that several times actually.
Yes. Um, and so it's just for people who like, if you happen to have found this, maybe because you're our friends and you're doing us a solid by listening, like that is just a thing. Like, why are we so into anime? Well, we're just getting to the root of a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Personally, for
We're
me,
cutting out the middleman.
yes. And personally for me, I like have. I'm going to explore these reasons in a video. I promise I'm going to make this video. But one of the key reasons I still love anime is that because it is the bastion of cell shading. Like, we grew up on cell shaded animation, which is just a fancy way of saying everything's contained with black lines. That's what cell shading is. We grew up on the Aladdins, the Lion Kings, the Herculeses, those Disney movies that were hand drawn movies. Now, anime is done largely in computers now to kind of just speed along the production process.
Yeah.
But the cell shading is still there.
And it is. It even though, like, to your point of to meet demand, obviously they would have to go digital. Like it is one of those things. And kind of as a sidebar, I find it's funny, like the duality that it has, because for me personally, I am one of those people. I can't use an e-reader. I need a physical paper book in my hand.
Right.
But to meet demand, obviously, they need to go to a digital platform. When you're creating, it's a lot easier to make that transition to a digital platform to just, like the demand's there. You got to pump them out. But at the same time, even with the basis of like a digital platform as far as output, there still is that genuine, like just feel of the cell shading. Like it, like just it there's something just so much more unique and genuine about it, and it's exactly to your point where you think of movies like the Lion King, like it's the effing Lion King.
Yeah.
like how are you going to debate like just the atmospheric feel of just the visuals to it?
Yes. I'm happy that I went down a hole of watching honest trailers a little while ago. I went way down the hole on that one, and they got to the live action Lion King, and they talked. They weren't fans. This wasn't even just like satirically making fun of. They were clearly not fans, And one of the biggest points that they made, or at least what I'm taking away from it, is they did "Be Prepared," Scar's song. Um, Basically turned it into spoken word poetry, but also, the let's talk about visuals. That scene is incredible visually. Like suddenly they use greens and smoke to determine that this is ominous.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the ballsy move of having the hyena's goose step while he's up on a cliff.
Oh man, like that is one of those things. Like kid, you just don't get it. Like, oh yeah, they're in the army. They're all listening to him, and then you realize as an adult, you look at it and it's like that is an effing SS meeting. Like
Yes.
that is
they
full on Gestapo marching. Holy moly!
Like you realize that like Scar is the embodiment of a fascist dictator in that he's incredibly charming. He will do gruesome things to get what he wants, and he
that
commands the loyalty
it
of
really
legions. And I'm just like, that was kids movies to us. Like those were the things you took kids to. And just to tie it back to, I find anime will still go there, where movies for kids today won't.
But you know what? I find I definitely can agree with you there, but I find it's a little different and maybe it's the cultural difference. You know what? It can't even be the cultural difference because a lot of this, well, not a lot, but a decent amount of this stuff is being written here as well now. So it's one of those things that, like, I would really be interested in knowing how is it that anime just does in my opinion, a better job of addressing these facts, but not kind of making it like not having to kind of stick to the status quo of like shush, the kids find out, let them find out when they're adults. You can show it to them, but just keep it on the down low. And then when they're adults, they're like, holy shit, you were having us watch, like Goose Step and Hyenas, Dad. What was going on there? where it's like okay, for example, take what everybody so fondly calls Ghibli, the Japanese Disney, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they like, for example, we watched Princess Mononoke not long ago, like maybe a week or two ago, something like that. And that movie is just straight up a climate change, like anti-poaching message.
Yeah.
It's like the opening line, like literally the like men and beasts used to live in harmony, and then everything went to shit.
Yeah, and that's very much a Ghibli thing. There is like a ton of allegory in there, but that one, took it to the next level with, and you kind of have to like shake your head at the irony of every once in a while, nature's gonna literally smack you down. And in that case, it was the forest god going berserk and trying to wipe out Irontown. But you have to remember, like, that is a lesson for real life. Like, you may think that you can control everything, but it's going to take one earthquake or one volcano eruption to humble you.
One pandemic.
I didn't really want to go there, but kind of.
You know what? Let's touch on it. Let's do it. No, but it is. It's one of those things. And like again, to my point, it's just I find maybe it's the Japanese culture. I don't know if it's just like the like-mindedness of all of these anime, like manga writers, but they touch on these subjects without it being, without having to walk on eggshells, but still seem to do it, or most of them anyway, in a very respectable and understandable way.
See, I would say it really lends itself to, because most of those are Hayao Miyazaki, and Hayao Miyazaki is a storyteller. He would never, if he's got a message, he's going to build a story around that message, not
what I will say is,
write a story and then somehow deliver that message.
No, that is true. I mean, Miyazaki really just like his storytelling is his bread and butter, and let me tell you, nobody makes better homemade bread and butter than that guy.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I don't even necessarily just mean like Ghibli movies. I mean, just anime in general. Like for example, yes, it is one of those shonen shows. Like if you look at MHA, it's one of those things where like in the first episode or two, it really it really highlights the aspects where Kachan is, like in that first episode, you think pretty much like he's a villain. Like this guy's gonna be a villain.
He
He's
was
beaten.
he was. I thought, okay, it got to the point. It's basically gets to the point right before the all for one fight, um, where it's Bakugo's at the cusp. He's going to diverge down the path, and it's either going to be he becomes a villain or something drastic happens to reset him. And something drastic happened to reset him. And it was, he had to face a world without All Might.
Yeah.
So, and that was the thing. Like he's definitely been reset. He still has that big attitude problem. He's still Bakugo, but I'm no longer worried about him.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Like even for example, you cut out a couple times there, just with this. Excuse me. With this conference call business going on, but just stop me if I'm reiterating exactly what you were just saying. But
No worries.
like for example, the scene in the chair where the League of Villains has him like strapped there, and they're like trying to convince him to come over,
Yes.
trying to come over the dark side, come over the dark side, and it's one of those things where it's like, very much like you, I was like, oh shit, are they actually gonna pull him over there?
He might go,
but is he that unhinged? Like, is he really going to? And then that little bit of inner monologue, and then just the spiel that he screams in their face, like, you guys are stupid if you think that I'm gonna be like you. Like, I'm going to be the number one hero.
Yes.
That's all.
Yeah.
And it really is. It's one of those things where it speaks volumes about, like that ancient old saying, like, don't judge a book by its cover. Yeah. He is a very loud, obnoxious, in-your-face individual. Some people would say that I'm that way. A lot of people would say I'm that way. Regardless, it's one of those things where it doesn't change who the person is at their core, and it's where you have a lot of these shows, and again, not talking down about them or anything, but it's like the Family Guys, the American Dads, the like the Rick and Morty's, like they're hilarious shows. They're funny, they're good for what they are worth. But they don't touch on very deep subjects like that, and still can do it in a comedic way. Can still, delve real deep into the emotion of not just for example, those kids are teenagers or in and around that age, but just humans in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I'll make an argument for the defense of Rick and Morty on that point, but we won't get into that.
I do have to say I not on that wagon half as hard as most people did. Everything I've seen is hilarious.
Yes, I was given the second season, and a couple episodes were just mind-blowingly like they were being hilarious and making an excellent point. But I definitely see where you're coming from. So we're about passing the hour point here, so I'm just gonna kind of move it to the wrap up point.
All right.
I love getting deep with you on this stuff, but I will.
I know we get. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah. We'll just wrap up. I always like to wrap up with a. This will probably be short for you because I know what you've been watching. But what are you watching now?
What I'm watching. Well, like in our previous conversation a little earlier, I'm gonna finish up Danmachi tonight. I think I'm gonna dive into. You know what? I think I have enough time now, especially like working from home. I think I'm gonna dive into 2 now. I'm gonna rewatch Bleach.
Nice.
Just to rewatch it. Like,
yep.
It honestly it's been a solid, I'd say, at least 6 years, 6 or 7 years since I've rewatched it. So it's been a good minute. And then I think I'm going to, you know what, I'm just gonna be doing a lot of rewatching. You know what? I
Right.
was gonna borrow the discs off of you for Evangelion, but
Okay.
I ended
Yep.
up finding the original dubs online. I think I told you about this. I went and I had the dub on my laptop, and then I had Netflix synced up on my TV, and I
And you
would watch.
compared?
Yeah. I watched the first like I'd say minute and 47 seconds on Netflix, and I was like, okay, that really doesn't seem so bad. And then I went back and we watched it, and it really was like, no, get the shit off my TV. No, thank you. No, where's the emotion? Like and it really is just like a monotone drag along.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do it justice.
Yep.
So I think those are the two I'm gonna delve into. Finish up Danmachi tonight, and Bleach and Evangelion.
Nice. This is yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely feeling the rewatch too, because there haven't been. I haven't had animes jumping out at me as the need to watch is, and this is a whole other. I could do a whole podcast episode on why that is. So, yeah, I said I got back into rewatching. I talked about Blast of Tempest last time, so I got pretty far into that again. Um,
Nice.
but I saw it on Netflix, and I decided like I got pretty hard on it by the end, and I said so. I gave a Comic Got Kill a second look,
Okay.
and my opinions still hold, but also it has come to a point where I've realized how desensitized I am because I remember watching that show thinking like, wow, that show's brutal. Like the kills are brutal. And like and that
Yeah.
that was coming from me, a guy who watched Spawn at a young age. But
Yep.
so
Look at Guy
I
White.
you know, I remember not even the animated version is even more version. Michael J. White was the live action one. David Keith was the voice.
You're talking about the HBO.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, the
Way
HBO.
more
Yeah,
violent.
the original.
Way more
Yeah.
violent than the movie. The movie was PG-13, like, and
Yeah.
the animated
Yeah.
show is 18A.
Yeah. You know what? I didn't actually realize that was HBO until later.
Yes.
Like later in life. I remember watching it and thinking like this is the greatest thing of Spawn I've ever seen because I had
Oh,
read the comics as a
right,
kid, but then I
right.
was like, this is a TV show. This is the best.
That was because that was the show made by Todd McFarlane.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
He was there.
Yeah.
Like so.
Which makes me so much more excited for this movie, man.
Here we go. It'll be great.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole for a whole.
Oh, we'll save that and get into it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Akame ga Kill, like I gave it its second watch, and it's actually like yes, the kills are brutal, but the character development is surprisingly token anime.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of like new archetypes. It's very much old
No.
archetypes with very brutal action. So
Yeah.
my opinions about it have kind of held, but I felt like I needed to
Yeah.
watch it with older, more objective eyes. So that was kind of a
Yeah,
thing I
no,
was
that's
going
fair.
through. I said definitely I need to do a rewatch of Bleach too because that was my show in high school, and it was probably the last time I had an all-consuming passion built around one show. Like it was huge, and I bet like going through it, you know, I'm gonna hear like one term, and suddenly that data library in my brain is gonna be activated because Bleach is a ton of information. Like what I say, when you
Yeah.
get into Bleach, it's hilarious because like I'll be like, okay, you basically have to commit to 20 episodes and then it becomes amazing. And I know that's a long commitment, and I have a 3-episode rule, so I'm breaking one of my own rules. But I say, like, you gotta get through those 20 episodes. They do a lot of exposition and kind of world building in the first 20, and then we get to meet some cool characters. But I say the thing about
Yeah.
Bleach that will either drive you crazy, or if you're the nerd like me and you're gonna love, everything has a name. They have names. The swords have the names. Places have names. Attacks have names. It just
That's
it is crippling the amount of names that things have. And but no, I think that's gonna have to get into a rewatch. And now that we're talking about it, the name of that song that we used at the beginning of the podcast is "Tonight Tonight" by B Crusaders. It came
Yeah,
back.
you know what? I thought of that. I thought of that afterwards. I was like, I want to say it's like a Smashing Pumpkins song.
And you know
It's
what?
not a
Now,
Smashing Pumpkins song.
and you know what?
And I'm pretty sure Smashing Pumpkins has a song called Tonight, don't they?
And you know what? I'm actually completely wrong. It's not even the one from Bleach. It's
Oh
actually
no.
no. It's the right band. It's the right band. That's all I had right. It's actually Hitting the USA by Beat Crusaders, and it's the theme to Beck Mongolian Chop Squad. My bad.
Gotcha.
I'm old, people. I'm old.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that is a show I can sell you on hard if you want to have that conversation when we stop recording. I will sell you on Beck once I kill the recording here. But yes,
I'm good.
I definitely I feel like it's time for a Bleach rewatch, and also I'm kind of feeling some Gundam again because of Hathaway about to come out.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I'm gonna throw that onto the list too. I'll triple duty it, and I gotta do that.
You know what I always thought about doing that might make for like kind of a fun nightly routine. I thought about recreating the Bionics lineup.
Oh.
Do an episode like episode one of each, and then do episode 2 of each.
Be really, yeah.
I can do it with with the only exceptions that I readily don't have are Witch Hunter Robin and Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. Otherwise, I have access to those.
Oh, that would be an intense watch.
Right, like every night, do like episode 1 of like Eureka 7, and then episode 1 of Bleach. I'm like, this might be a thing. I might do this.
Yeah, you know what? That's actually starting to sound really good to me.
All right, we'll work out the lineup after we're done here. But yeah. So sorry to say, folks, it's not an exciting time for new stuff that we're excited about. But I think that's just part of being an anime fan. Is every once in a while you go back and like try to remember like, what did I like so much about this? And then you watch it and go, oh, that's what I liked, or wow, that didn't hold up.
Yeah. And what else are you listening for? You know what? We'll start a quick little like 5-minute segment as soon as a new series that does interest us both come up.
Yes.
And it'll be, you know, like what do you think?
Yes, and also we discussed doing a thing. Kind of, if anybody's listening, give us some feedback on this. Zavalon wanted to play with the idea of practicing voice acting. Like, listen to that voice, folks. Like, go ahead, give us a line.
Let me think now.
See, like, even there.
You know what? My buddy always told me the funniest thing that you can do is say a movie line in Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice. That's not an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Right.
So I'm gonna give you one of them.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. You know what? We're gonna do. We'll do a Back to the Future line.
Okay. Give me. Okay. Hear about this. Give me when this hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit as Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. Ready?
Yep.
When this one gets up to 88 miles per hour, we're going to see some serious shit. Marty, what are you doing?
That was great. But yeah, so anybody listening, like, leave us a little feedback. Would you like to hear a segment where Zavalon and I do our kind of rendition of, like, say, an anime script? I always thought, I think I'm going to say it now and I'm going to have it ready for the next one. I think you and I should do the Jet and Spike exchange about Spike complaining there's no beef in the Beef and Bell Peppers.
You know what? I'm okay with that one.
That's a good. I think that's a good one. So we'll ready that for the next episode. Which these might be coming out quicker now that we're like at home board and we know that the setup kind of works. So yeah. We'll see how that goes. And yeah, we got like a lot of great kind of fun ideas. This is all kind of to amuse ourselves because us, like you, are stuck at home. I luckily still am able to work in my office because all I do is go down one country road to an office with 2 people in it, 2 including myself, and then come home. So I am still very much adhering to the practices and recommendations. So, and you're working from home just in general.
Yeah, I'm 100% home. Yeah. I haven't left my house in about 13 months. That's a joke.
Feels that way, right?
Never. Yeah, it feels that way. No, legit. I left the house today, I think. Who knows? I don't know.
I live in the country, so I'm at least able to go out and get some air. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, you know what? It hasn't been as bad. I still go for walks and all that
Yeah.
jazz. It's just, being in an office
Yep.
and the Institute for Infectious Diseases.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
let them do their research and stay home, book their rooms and stuff.
There we go. So yes, so we've got some fun ideas. Hope you guys have enjoyed listening to our banter. We just have fun doing it, and let us know if you guys have fun listening to it. It will go very far to keeping us motivated. I'm a classic extrovert, so I need the validation bad.
I'm one of those intro extroverts.
Yes.
I'm introverted right up until Josh talks to me or Kitsun-Eh talks to me, and then it's like, okay, yeah, you know what? Let's go do this.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So again, thank you to everybody for watching. This has been episode 2 of Gundam Guys and Guymelef Girls, and I'm gonna hopefully get to talking about getting some guests on too. So please stay tuned and let us know what you think. All this stuff can be found at Kitsun-Eh.com. And Zavalon, you want to say your goodbyes there?
You know what? I really have to come up with the best sign off possible, and I'm not confident in the one that I have. So
okay.
we're just gonna say, stay clean, stay sanitized, don't drink the sanitizer, and
I
catch you
think
next time.
I think you should stick with don't drink the sanitizer.
Don't drink the sanitizer. That's just gonna be a great sign off, just period.
There we go.
I'm gonna sign off when I leave. Don't drink the sanitizer.
There we go. Don't drink the sanitizer, and see you, Space Cowboys. Bye, everybody.